What happens when a live TV interview spirals so far out of control that it costs a veteran host his career? Karoline Leavitt expected a heated debate. What she didn't expect: to sit there and watch one of television's biggest names self-destruct on live TV. Before we dive into this shocking story, comment below where you're watching from today. And if you believe in accountability and standing up for what's right, hit that subscribe button for more must-see stories. It was supposed to be just another morning segment on The Morning Current, a talk show known for heated political debates. The guest? Karoline Leavitt, a rising Conservative star. The host? Paul Danning, a TV veteran known for pressing guests hard, cutting them off and leaving them speechless. But no one, not the producers, not the audience, and definitely not Paul Danning himself, expected this interview to end with him losing everything. The segment started predictably. Paul grilled Karoline on media bias, accusing Conservative outlets of spreading misinformation while defending his network's fact-checking approach. Karoline held her ground, calm, prepared, and unshaken. She pushed back, listing multiple instances where mainstream outlets had conveniently missed key details. The back and forth was tense, but civil, until Paul lost control. Leaning forward, voice sharp, he snapped, "People like you are the reason this country is backsliding. You push this fake narrative of victimhood, pretending Conservatives are being silenced when, in reality, you're the ones silencing everyone else." The studio fell silent. Even the producers, usually calm behind their monitors, exchanged uneasy glances. Karoline didn't flinch. Instead, she let the silence stretch, then calmly asked, "Would you like to clarify what you mean by your people?" Paul froze, just for a second, but it was long enough. The tension in the room shifted. Realizing his mistake, Paul backpedaled. "I meant Conservatives, people like you, pushing an agenda of grievance instead of progress." But it was too late. The words "your people" hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. It wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. Dismissive, condescending. Karoline's response? Surgical. "So, just to be clear, when you said 'your people,' you weren't referring to anything beyond political ideology?" Paul's jaw tightened. He recognized the trap, but he was already too far gone, and instead of backing off, he made a fatal mistake. "Oh, come on, Karoline," he scoffed. "Don't play the victim here. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Bad faith outrage. You know exactly what I meant." Karoline didn't need to raise her voice or get defensive. She simply tilted her head, folded her hands and said, "I don't need to twist your words, Paul. They speak for themselves." And in that moment, Paul knew he had lost. By the time the segment ended, the first clips hit social media. A 15-second snippet of Paul's "your people" remark spread like wildfire. Within an hour, hashtags were trending. Hashtag Paul Danning exposed. Hashtag Karoline was right. Hashtag fire Paul Danning. Comment sections exploded. Some called his words disrespectful. Others scrambled to defend him, claiming it was taken out of context. But the full-length clip, it didn't help his case. Sponsors noticed. By midday, 3 major advertisers paused their partnerships with The Morning Current. By evening, 5 more followed. The network was cornered. They had 2 options: defend Paul and risk a full-scale advertiser exodus. Cut him loose before it got worse. And they hesitated. At 3 p.m, a carefully worded statement was released. "Paul Danning has been placed on indefinite suspension while we conduct an internal review. NBS News remains committed to respectful and fair journalism." Corporate speak for, "We're waiting to see how bad this gets before we throw him overboard." But the internet wasn't waiting. Suspension wasn't enough. People wanted him fired. Karoline didn't call for Paul to be fired, but she didn't stop it either. That night, During an appearance on another show, she was asked directly, "Do you think Paul Danning should be fired?" She paused, then said, "I think people in positions of influence should be held accountable for their words." No anger, no gloating, just facts. And the next morning, the final blow landed. At 9:15 a.m., NBS News released their second statement. Effective immediately, Paul Danning is no longer affiliated with NBS News. We thank him for his years of service and wish him the best in his future endeavours. Translation: he's done. We're moving on. And just like that, Paul Danning, one of the most recognisable faces on morning television, was erased overnight. That evening, Paul broke his silence. In a pre-recorded video, looking tired but defiant, he said, "I was fired because I spoke the truth. The media doesn't want truth. They want compliance. If you step out of line, they erase you. This isn't about me. It's about all of us." Within hours, the video racked up millions of views. His supporters called for boycotts against NBS News. His critics said this wasn't about free speech. He crossed a line. And Karolina, she stayed silent. No celebration, no extra comments. She didn't need to say a word, because the world was already arguing for her. Was Paul Danning's firing justified, or was this cancel culture going too far? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you want more stories that make you think, hit that subscribe button.